the gas rich, at least 1.4 trillion cubic feet rich to be precise. But there's a catch.
Geologists and natural resources economists have confirmed that the occupied Palestinian territory lies above sizable reservoirs of oil and natural gas wealth in Area C of the occupied West Bank and the Mediterranean coast off the Gaza Strip. To date, the real and opportunity costs of the occupation exclusively in the area of oil and natural gas have accumulated to tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars.
Back in 1999, the Palestinian authorities signed a deal with British Gas. Just off the Gaza coast, they struck it lucky, and 2 wells were drilled. That's Gaza Marine 1 and 2. It was a multi-billion-dollar gift from God, an economic boon both home and abroad.
This is one of the key messages here today. There will be gas available for export. And from my conversations with Palestinian officials, including President Arafat, it is clear that they have no interest in just sitting on a gas surplus.
Fast forward to 2007, Hamas comes to power, and Israel launches an offensive on the Gaza Strip, leaving behind 1,400 dead Palestinians, but taking with it the gas fields. Now, within the year, Israel announced the discovery of the Leviathan natural gas field, which did include Gaza's riches, all in all valued at $453 billion. Now, since then, Gazans haven't seen a shekel, or to be more accurate, they have been denied around $47 billion in revenue. As for Tel Aviv, well, it's gunning to become a new hub.
This is a historical moment in which...
Yep. All right, folks, we are back here on WLTH 1370 AM. That's 92.7 in the FM dial. If you're nasty, and I know you are, it is 7:28 in the PM on April the 12th. It is Friday, yes, here on Straight Out of the Cannon with Scott Cannon. As you heard in the intro, Gaza is rich, folks. Gaza is rich, even though the Gazans, the Palestinians, are some of the poorest people on the planet. Gaza itself has oil reserve worth billions and billions of dollars. Just another reason for the ethnic cleansing that is being perpetuated by the Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, and the Israeli government at the behest of the Israeli government. We are officially 6 months into the genocide in Gaza. And so how are things going? And the answer is not good. If you are a Palestinian person, over 30,000 men, women, and children have been blown to bits, have been murdered or starved to death by the Israeli government with the aid and assistance of the United States government, including our President Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. 70% of the people who have died are children and women. And so this idea that this war is about Hamas and cleaning out Hamas, it never was about that. As you heard in the intro, Gaza is rich. It has lots of oil wealth. Israelis have already been talking about how they're going to rebuild Gaza as a resort palace for Israelis, I guess, for Jews all around the world to come in and, you know, I guess have their vacations on the Gaza Strip next to the sea. Some of the war crimes that Israel is perpetuating against Palestinians is shocking even to people in our government. We just heard last week from the late, great Dr. Martin Luther King, where his speech Beyond Vietnam, where he calls America the greatest purveyor of violence in the world. And even amongst people in the military-industrial complex, who are parts of the military-industrial complex, the greatest purveyor of violence in the world, a lot of the actions being taken in Gaza is shocking to them. we are seeing 2,000-pound bombs. 2,000-pound bombs being dropped on a civilian population in an area the size of New York City. That's all Gaza is. Gaza is the size of New York City, 2.2 million people. Half are children under the age of 18, and they're dropping 2,000-pound bombs on civilians. For some context, in the war in Iraq, the United States government would not drop bombs, I believe, heavier than 500 pounds on Iraq, because to drop 2,000-pound bombs on a civilian population is what the whole world has been saying it is. It's genocidal. And just to give you some more context to how genocidal Israel's army is and some of the tactics that they've been using, there's actually this article that just came out in Plus 972 magazine, which is the country code of Israel, about how the Israelis are actually using artificial intelligence, AI, to commit a more efficient genocide. They have this machine called Lavender. It is an AI machine that they are actually using to mark Palestinians for assassination. So this investigation by Plus 972 magazine has revealed that the Israeli army has developed an artificial intelligence-based program known as Lavender. According to 6 Israeli intelligence officers who have all served in the army during the current war on the Gaza Strip and had first-hand involvement with the use of AI to generate targets for assassination, Lavender has played a central role in the unprecedented bombing of Palestinians, especially during the early stages of war. In fact, according to these sources, its influence on the military's operations was such that they essentially treated the outputs of the AI machine as if it was a human decision. Formally, this Lavender system is designed to mark all suspected operatives in the military wings of Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, including low-ranking ones, as potential bombing targets. The sources told Plus 972 and Local Call that during the first week of war, the army almost completely relied on Lavender, which clocked as many as 37,000 Palestinians as suspected militants and their homes for possible airstrikes. During the early stages of war, the army gave sweeping approval for officers to adopt Lavender's kill list, with no requirement to thoroughly check why the machine made those choices or to examine the raw data on which they were based. One source stated that human personnel often served as a rubber stamp for the machine's decision, adding that normally they would personally devote only about 20 seconds to each target before authorizing a bombing, just to make sure the Lavender marked target is male. That's it. This was despite knowing that the system makes what are regarded as errors approximately 10% of the time, and is known to occasionally mark individuals who have merely a loose connection to militant groups or no connection at all. Now, this has always been the thing that when you know propaganda is at work here. When they say talk about people having connections to terrorism, I always like to bring it home and use an example. Imagine if the police decided in this country that it was okay to shoot anybody who was connected to the Gangster Disciples or the Vice Lords or the Four Corner Hustlers, or drop bombs on Gangster Disciple neighborhoods, or drop bombs on Vice Lord neighborhoods in Chicago. Imagine that if the American government was able to do that and say, well, you know, this kid's father or brother or uncle or cousin was a Vice Lord, and so we used a precision weapon to take out the entire household, killed the mama, the daddy, the sister, the brother, everybody else, because this one person was a part of a gang. That's the logic that they're using in this situation. Now, this result, let me go back. Moreover, the Israeli army systemically attacks the targeted individuals while they were in their homes, usually at night while their whole families were present, rather than during the course of military activity. According to the sources, this was because, from what they regarded as an intelligence standpoint, it was easier to locate the individuals in their private homes. Additional automated systems, including one called Where's Daddy? This is sick. There's an automated system called Where's Daddy that also revealed here for the first time was used specifically to track the targeted individuals and carry out bombings when they had entered their families' residences. Again, imagine if the police in Chicago just started saying, we're going to run up in every vice lord's house and shoot their mamas, their cousins, their daddies, because we got to stop the killing in Chicago. We're going to drop a bomb on all the gangbangers' households and kill their children and their girlfriends, their pregnant girlfriends, because we got to stop the killing in Chicago. That's the logic that they're using here. The result, as sources testified, is that thousands of Palestinians, most of them women and children or people who were not involved in any fighting, have been wiped out by Israeli airstrikes, especially during the first weeks of war, because of the AI program's decision. This is, you want to talk about Hitlerian? This is Hitlerian. This right here. If the Nazis were in the 21st century, this is what they would be doing. Using a computer program, an artificial intelligence program to systemically, ethnically cleanse an entire ethnic group. This is sick right here. In addition, according to the sources, when it came to targeting alleged junior militants marked by lavender, the army preferred to only use unguided missiles, commonly known as dumb bombs, in contrast to smart precision bombs. Now, these bombs can destroy whole buildings on top of their occupants and cause significant casualties. Now, their reasoning for this is you don't want to waste expensive bombs on unimportant people. Wow. So all the children, all the wives, all the girlfriends, all the daughters, all the mothers, all the brothers, all the uncles, the sons, they're unimportant people because they're caught in the collateral damage of these dumb bombs. Another source says that they have personally authorized the bombing of hundreds of private homes of alleged junior operatives marked by lavender, with many of these attacks killing civilians and their entire families as collateral damage. Wow. Whew. In an unprecedented move, according to two sources, the army also decided during the first weeks of war that for every junior Hamas operative and that lavender marked, it was permissible to kill up to 15 to 20 civilians. In the past, the military did not authorize any collateral damage during assassinations of low-ranking militants. The sources added that in the event that the target was a senior Hamas official with the rank of a battalion or brigade commander, the army on several occasions authorized the killing of more than 100 civilians in the assassination of a single commander. Again, you would be outraged if the city of Gary was wiped off the map during the 90s because we got to stop gangbangers. Let's drop a bomb on the city of Gary, Indiana because there's gangbangers here and it's the murder capital of America. Let's kill everybody. Let's kill the teachers. Let's kill the doctors in Gary. Let's kill the lawyers. Let's kill everybody at the radio station. Let's kill everybody at the Genesis Center because we got to stop these drug dealers and gangsters, and we got to stop them by any means necessary. Now, it's unfortunate to say that now, since Israel has been given carte blanche to basically do whatever the hell they want, they are finally starting to face a backlash because they're killing so many non-Palestinian people. You hate to say that, but it is true. Now people care because non-Palestinians are being killed. You see where just a few weeks ago, foreign aid workers from the U.S.-based World Central Kitchen were killed in an Israeli attack. The group staff said that members from Australia, the United Kingdom, Poland, and a U.S. Canada citizen were all killed in the strike, which Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu later admitted came at the hands of the Israeli army, but said it was unintentional. Sure it was. Founded in 2010 by Spanish-American Michelin-starred chef Jose Andres, World Central Kitchen has been one of the few aid groups to be able to deliver food to Gaza, where a humanitarian crisis is mounting due to a brutal Israeli military campaign against Hamas in the enclave. So basically, World Central Kitchen worked with the IDF Defense Forces of Israel. They called the IDF, the Israeli government, and said, look, we are delivering aid. They drove a van that said World Central Kitchen on it. They told Israel in every single step of the way that they were there to deliver aid and food for starving Gazans. And they were fired on multiple times until everybody was dead. Anyway, they killed people from Australia, the UK, Poland, and the United States and Canada. Now, Israel's stance is that they saw somebody with a gun hanging out of the van. But that story does not hunt because they actually have eyes on the ground that could see who was in the van. And this goes back to, once again, Israel are targeting specifically people who are trying to help the Palestinians. You have doctors who purposely have to who have to take off their scrubs. Doctors and nurses have to take off their scrubs and put on civilian clothing because they know that doctors and nurses are specifically being targeted by the Israeli government. And for months, it's crazy that the United States government has tried to pretend that there's nothing they could do. Joe Biden has tried to pretend that there's nothing he could do. Well, that's a damn lie. That's absolutely a damn lie. Ronald Reagan in 1983 told Israel to cut it out, and they cut it out. And just last week, Joe Biden said, look, we want a ceasefire, and you know, if Israel doesn't tone it down, we might do something in the future. And they backed off a little bit, which just goes to show you that what they've been doing for the last 6 months is allowing Israel to do what the hell it wants and literally try to wipe an entire ethnic group out without any punishment whatsoever. And it is only because Joe Biden is being protested everywhere he goes by protesters that we're even seeing any relenting support for Israel from the Biden administration. Now, one of the unsung heroes, some of the unsung heroes of this war, or genocide as I like to call it, are Israelis, some of the Israelis themselves, who are coming out against what Israel is doing. CNN just reported about an Israeli doctor who said that detained Palestinians are undergoing routine amputations for handcuff injuries. A doctor at the field at a field hospital for detained Palestinians has described deplorable conditions and routine amputations due to handcuff injuries, according to Haaretz. In a letter to Israel's Attorney General and Defense and Health Ministries obtained by Haaretz, which is Israel's version of the New York Times, the doctor has said that the conditions at the field hospital compromise the inmate's death and violates all medical ethics. Just this week, 2 prisoners had their legs amputated due to handcuff injuries, which is a routine event. He wrote that the inappropriate care at the detention facility has led to complications and sometimes even in death. So, I want to definitely give a shout out before I have to go to break here to all the Israelis at Haaretz, all the Jewish Americans, Jews for ceasefire, Jews for peace. They have been more courageous in standing up against their own folks' brutal genocide than what you see in this country. How is it that Haaretz, Israel's biggest newspaper, is able to be more critical of what Israel is doing and what they have done than CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all of our media outlets in this country? We saw Mehdi Hassan get fired from MSNBC because he asked a few too many questions, just one question too many, about what was going on in this genocide. But you have actual Israelis and actual Jews who are standing up and fighting against what their government is perpetuating. So big shout out to all of them. All right, folks, when I come back, I'm going to mop up and get out of here. We'll be right back after these.